If you clicked on this video, it's clear that you want to know the answer to the question above. What is mental health? Okay, and let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's get down and dirty, baby. We're going to answer that question. I'm going to break it down and let's talk. Let's talk, let's talk, let's talk. Now, before we get into any of that, you know what I got to do? I'm going to go ahead and define mental health. Let's go ahead and pull out our backpack. Y'all remember like Blue's Clues? Backpack. We got to pull out our toolkit, child. Also, like, shout out to Blue's Clues. So according to Oxford Dictionary, mental health is defined as a noun, a person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well-being. In other words, it is a person's emotional state, how a person can handle their emotion based on their state. So a lot of emotions, if you are an emotionally healthy human being, most emotions are that you may feel, like happiness, like anger, like sadness, are meant to be temporary emotions. But if you are not in a healthy place and you do suffer from mental illnesses, emotions can be elongated, like sadness can be elongated to depression, like fear can be elongated to anxiety, like stress can be elongated to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, where you're like constantly in a state of stress. So notice that these diagnoses, sorry if I'm looking around, there's people in here. In regards to mental health, we can think of it in one of two ways. Just to break it down and make it super simple, if you're having any difficulty, I got you. The positive, if you are a person who's emotionally healthy and you are, for the most part, an emotional, responsible, competent human being who is a stellar adult, a model, and a pillar of morality, if you will, as far as emotions, this is you, emotionally healthy. We're going to put you over there. B, if you are someone who is diagnosed with a few diagnoses, child, we're going to put you over here. This is the negative aspect of it. You may have an identified diagnosis or an unidentified diagnosis. And as I said before, I view those diagnoses as an elongated emotion if you are not seeking treatment.
How do you know what's good for me?
That's my opinion! Don't you get it? Why can't anybody have an opinion but you?
And I yell.
Do you not
How
get
do
it?
you know what's
That's
good
my
for me?
If you have a diagnosis, now, this is not to be misunderstood to say that anybody with a diagnosis is emotionally unbalanced. That's not the message I want to put out there, because that couldn't be further from the truth. If you are seeking help on your journey of recovery, it is very possible that if you are seeking help and you have surpassed a different level in your emotional recovery, it is extremely possible and it's realistic for you to be someone who has a diagnosis and you're seeking treatment and your symptoms are under control, you are managing your medication, you are seeking holistic treatment, whatever works for you. You are in therapy, you see a psychologist, a psychiatrist, you have a life coach, whatever works for you, it is possible for you to be emotionally healthy and well-rounded. Even with the diagnosis, it is. And that is literally the goal. So just want to put that out there. Now, that is the definition of mental health. So, for you to further understand, mental health is a condition, a medical condition. A lot of diagnoses would be considered disabilities like complex PTSD, depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, I think BPD. I don't remember the last thing that I was saying, but I do have a poem that I would like to share that was written by me, the lovely, the elegant, the sultry, Joy West, a poetry that I actually wrote while I was in the psychiatric ward, girl. So, yeah, I actually am someone who has mental health, who has issues, who has run into some diagnosis, if you will. And that's why I'm interested in making content like this, so that I can educate as many people as possible. And also so I can let people know that, like, a person who goes through this is your everyday, regular, degular, schmegular person. Like, I'm not about to be like someone who's like, it's not something that's only like reserved for the wealthy and the famous and the powerful, you know what I mean? It's not something in whatever. Let's get into it. I'll be right back again. This is a poem that I wrote for me and my own understanding when it comes to being diagnosed with multiple mental illnesses. This is something that helped me kind of understand it, and I entitled this poem. This poem I wrote. I wrote this while I was in the hospital, girl. In the hospital. That's why I wrote it. Oh, girl, I have a lot of poems in here I can read, y'all. Whew. Alright, so there is difficulty on my part for pulling this up for some reason. Quiet. So I do have an emotional support animal, and I'm going to be doing another video about that actually tonight. So stay tuned if that's something you're interested in seeing. In order for me to read you the poem that I have written about mental health, and it basically is my understanding of mental health, mental illnesses, and it basically, in the poem, I'll just kind of talk to you about it. In this poem, I kind of wrote from, my point of view, a letter to my mental health, and how I feel that it essentially betrays me, and it neglects me, and it wants to fight me on a daily basis. So, this is a face of a person who is intensely angry. I'm very upset because I recorded 30 minutes of footage, and turns out I recorded 30 minutes of nothing because I never pressed play. Yep. So, it's fine. I'm not really that upset. You ready? I would love to read you my poem. This seems like a perfect opportunity. So, let's go. This Fucking Tree by Joy West. I wrote my name on the tree of life. This Fucking Tree by Joy West. I wrote my name on the tree of life. I prayed its branches would give me strength to bear the name joy, but to know no bliss was Satan's perfect gift. Your vines, your branches, and your leaves leaves me desperate for more strength. And I thought you would make me formidable. You tilt your head and you say, Joy, we all know pain. I laugh and say, I know agony. Joy, if sadness was a choice, would you choose to rejoice? Would you lift up your head? Would you lift up your voice? If sadness was a choice, I'd choose wisdom, for I battle with despair. Should I dare to choose life, I'd let down my hair. I'd breathe in fresh air. Unfortunately for me, life hasn't been fair. If sadness was a choice, I'd never know despair. Trapped in a prison that no one can see, burdened with pain, it's impossible to breathe. I come for your help. Please cure my disease. I'd beg you to free me, but you're just a tree. Yeah. What is mental health? Mental health is the relationship that you have with your brain and your heart and your soul. Mental health, and that in that relationship, you can be betrayed by your heart and your soul and your brain. I've experienced that betrayal. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.